All right. Hey, guys. It's Angel Garcia here, and I'm here with Cameron, the president of the UHCL ESports Club, with our... still haven't decided the name of the podcast, but we'll just call it a podcast.
Welcome to UHCL Esports Podcast, where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
Y'all are going to find that to be increasingly true as this thing goes further along.
Everything is made up. It's like Calvin Ball. You ever read Calvin and Hobbes?
Calvin Hobbes?
Yeah. They had a sport net called Calvin Ball where pretty much as the game goes on, you just make up the rules as you go. And it never really ends. That's pretty much how this podcast is going to work. We just make up the rules as we go.
That sounds great, actually, because the meta will never, stop evolving, Or devolving. It's going to continue devolving into something that is, irrecognizable to everybody.
Leo B tier, me C tier, just because I say so.
It's like, wait, why are there tiers?
Anyways.
Yeah.
We have some things to talk about today. The video gaming world is turned on its head, both in esports and, just general video games. The Nintendo Direct dropped this morning as of now that we record this. And with it came the news drop that there is, in fact, a new generation Pokemon game, Pokemon Sword and Shield, coming out for the Switch.
Yeah, which... By the way, the name's atrocious. It's atrocious.
Not a fan of the name.
Not a fan, first off.
We've already seen the jokes where people have edited out the Sword and Shield, where it's like Pokemon Attack and Pokemon Protect.
Protect.
And then you have the ones where it's like, oh, when are we gonna get the third iteration game? Because it's like Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, Pokemon Gun.
It would be pen, because the pen is mightier than the sword. So that's how you know it's the third iteration. That's how it's the best one. That's just how we know.
Literally, there's no interaction between the pin and shield, but it's literally just there to just, hey, this iteration, Pokemon Sword, fuck off.
Fuck off. Yeah, it's low tier, no defense at all, low tier. But yeah, and there's been some interesting takes on this new game. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people think that it looks absolutely garbage, some people think it looks great.
Just an all-around general opinion. There are some cool things that we found out from the Direct today. We learned the area name and pretty much what it's played off on real life. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. I just know that it is in Great Britain at this point.
Yeah, because...
Garlic, something like that. Yeah. It's like G-A-R-A-K. Garak.
Yeah, Garak.
Garak.
And then, and then the three starters, the animals that they're based off, for the fire type is based off of a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
And the grass type is based off of a monkey. And the water type, I believe, is based off of a salamander.
I want to say a chameleon. Because one of the big things that they had on its introduction was it was in the pond, but then it was invisible as well, blending in with its surroundings.
You're right.
We don't know.
And these names are pretty That's how I'm going to describe it.
Well, hold on, because you have to think of fucking Pokemon's naming scheme, because you've got Mankey for a monkey Pokemon.
Primeape. Well, fair point. I mean, Gen 1, the names have been hit or miss. Y'all know what comes next.
Don't want to make that reference.
But yeah, we have Grookey, which is the grass type. We have Scarbunny, which is an unoriginal name. It literally just has the name Bunny in there, but like you said, Mankey.
Oh, it's called Scarbunny. Oh, the Band-Aid's covering a scar.
Yes.
I just realized that.
Yeah. It looks like, for those of you that haven't seen it, it looks like on Scorbunny, my bad, not Scarbunny, Scorbunny. Oh. It looks like there's a scar right there in the
middle. Not even worth it anymore. No, it's just called Scorbunny because it's a fire bunny. It's so stupid. I hate it now. How dare you ruin this for me?
The descriptions. Oh, and the water type, as people tend to forget, is Sobble.
Sobble is straight up a budget Greninja.
It's a budget Greninja. It's a lizard Pokemon, is what it says. Fudge.
You touched it. You have a touch screen.
There we go.
It's a lizard.
It's a somewhat timid water lizard Pokemon that shoots out water and hides itself. So like, yeah.
Okay, Pat.
Okay. It's just like a pet lizard. Let's see, Scorbunny, a rabbit that's always running around bursting with energy, according to Nintendo's what they describe it as. There's that. Doesn't mention anything on how it's related to fire. And then Grookey. I believe it's pronounced Grookey because there's two O's. Or Grookey?
Grookey.
Gru. I'm going to just name it Gru. So Gru is a mischievous chimp that is full of boundless curiosity. So, I mean, at least the character design for the grass type is somewhat interesting. I thought it would be. I don't know what I was expecting going in, but I still feel disappointed. Yeah, I don't know how else to describe it.
I feel like though that happens every generation though.
Mm-hmm.
The starters are always revealed.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's at least one or two usually that are just like, this is extremely uninspired and the look is terrible. He looks like really dumb and I hate it. There's always that argument for every generation.
Yeah.
And honestly, I make the same argument every generation where it's like, hey, you probably hate these starters, but the deal, like the deal sealer would probably be like, hey, just wait and see what their evolution line is. That's usually how the starters go for me. Is just the starting Pokemon just sometimes aren't
underwhelming.
And they're underwhelming or just interesting, but you always think about, hey, the evolution line probably isn't as bad.
Yeah, I mean, it probably won't be as bad. I mean, if you really think about it, there's a lot of potential for their final evolution forms here. For example, Scorbunny will probably be like a fast kind of rush down type of Pokemon with high speed stats because it is a bunny first off.
What do you think his second type will be?
Ground.
Ground.
Because if you've ever seen a bunny, they like to dig rabbit holes. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna somehow learn to dig.
That was the line of thinking someone else provided to me. I forget who said it, but they were just like, "Yo, it's gonna be ground because like they're just gonna use dig and all that stuff."
Yeah, that's honestly what I'm thinking for Scorbunny.
I made the joke he's going to be fire flying because his ears are going to turn into literal helicopter rotors and just take off.
Okay, this isn't Disney, all right? This isn't Disney. I mean, this is Pokemon here. We're talking about real life functionality of these beautiful creatures, all right? That we're actively dissing. Sobble, since it's a lizard, it's already given water. So what do you think would be a secondary typing? Poison, maybe?
Maybe,
right?
That sounds kind of interesting.
It would be an interesting combination because if you think about it, you have the traditional triangle where fire beats grass, beats water, beats fire.
Yeah.
Right? Now there needs to be some sort of triangle that works the opposite direction. Now, ground would be poison type. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there has to be something that poison type would be grass, possibly. And then the other one would counteract the water type, maybe. So there needs to be some sort of balance because otherwise one Pokemon will just be the superior one versus the other two. So
how else is your rival gonna beat you your first encounter?
That's fair. I mean, how else is he going to beat you? Even though people with competent skill or competent knowledge of Pokemon could just get through it on the first try. Not me.
Anyways, so like aside from the starters, they showed off a lot of the region, and they showed off. I remember they had a mine that they were going through. They had pretty much Big Ben. Why did you click through that? Okay, save that. There's no way we can't show that. They're gonna wonder why we're laughing at it. The fucking Pikachu got me. Anyways, they were showing off areas. They were showing off areas of the region. We saw Big Ben, a mine, a bunch of other stuff. We saw, I think, Snow City, some shit like that. I can't remember.
Something. For those of y'all listening, we'll provide some context after the podcast is done. We'll put a link in the description.
I'll just throw it up on the video if I can.
If you can, that would be great.
I will. Don't worry about it.
But let's see. But the region itself, the layout is very interesting because most of the layouts in pretty much every single previous iteration of Pokemon have been some sort of like an island chain or somewhat similar. Or just one concentrated area where it's not...
I mean, have we seen a map yet?
Yeah, there is a map. It's very, very vertical. So you start at the very south of the island or the region, and then it looks like as you go your way up, you start progressing to like mountainous areas, snow and whatnot. And that's where I'm going to assume the end game is going to be. Like you just have to work your way up.
It's very vertical. It's just Great Britain.
Yeah, it's just Great Britain. So this, you start off at the very south, some plains, just your small little town for the most part. Then as you progress further north, you enter this mountainous area to the far north, which looks like a large metropolitan area. So that'll probably be like the last city before going to Victory Road or whatever they're going to call it this time.
I think it'll be pretty interesting because from what we've seen from a lot of the scenery gameplay and stuff, is a lot of people were saying it seemed like it was going to be very steampunkish.
Steampunkish? I haven't heard... We'll ignore that.
You have to stop looking at photos.
You're not the first person to say that. I've heard that it's like the design elements are going to be very different from the previous Pokemon iteration, which was the Alolan form, which was based on the Hawaiian island chain for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Very tropical. This is definitely going to be a different feeling Pokemon than the previous iteration. There's some parts of the scenery that look very interesting. There's like amber waves of like grain, just like everywhere. At least progressing through it won't look boring. It doesn't seem like everything is the same.
Mm-hmm. They made it look very, very pretty.
Yeah, but it just makes it look like this region, all these small towns in this region will probably make it look very small, and then you'll get to this large city and you're like, whoa, you know.
Anyways,
yeah.
Would you say you're excited for the game?
Yeah, I actually am excited for the game. I feel like there's a lot of potential with the new generation of Pokemon that they might introduce, for example, new combat systems. At one point they mentioned things like in previous generations, like it was the evolution, the super evolutions, or the mega evolutions. Sorry. The Mega Evolutions, the Z Stones, I think that's what they were called.
I thought they were just Mega Stones.
Mega
or something
Stones,
like that.
yeah, and then the special moves that they introduced in Sun and Moon. So I'm looking to. I'm really really curious to see what.
For this as of now, because there's still so much time between now and then they said like late 2019. I pretty much predicted that somewhere where it was just like I said they were gonna title drop. I said they weren't gonna show off the game, that they were just gonna title drop, but they did have some stuff for the game ready to go, that was a pleasant surprise. But I knew the time slot. They were going to slot it for late 2019. I'm thinking November or December, so that way they have a holiday release.
Yes.
And now they have the most ample time to, like, if there's another direct, they can release, like,
content.
Let's Go DLC and stuff like that, and basically get, hey, you're hyped about Pokemon, here's this thing to hold you over until that comes out.
Yeah, that would be a very good way of promoting the brand, one, and two, getting more money from little kids everywhere.
But anyways, I kind of segued from my original thought where maybe it's a little bit too early based off this one direct alone to basically say I'm not excited about the game, because it, aside from like the new starters and everything, it looks pretty much the same as every other Pokemon game except for like the last one that didn't have gyms, because that was a weird decision. They brought gyms back, but it just looks the same to me and not interesting. However, this is also first impressions. It's probably a good idea to wait and see what comes out over the time to where it's like, okay, here's some new things that we're doing, which I really hope they do, to where it's like, here's some like really cool innovative things. A really really big thing I would like to see happen is one of the things they showed was a guy in like a jersey or something entering an arena and stuff. I hope that's an online platform.
Yeah.
To where you can have, like, you know, an online ladder for competitive or stuff, or just casual matches, because I think it's time for Nintendo to enter that online market.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like they've attempted to enter the esports realm with Splatoon and the Smash Bros. Invitational, which is a good first step, I would say. But to do this with Pokemon, which would be a very interesting way to go, because Pokemon in general is a very RNG based game.
So the way I could see it working, or the quote unquote correct way I could see it working, or the steps they should take. So Splatoon was weird because they wanted to do it and they didn't really have a base for it. It was at this point they were trying to like test the waters, dip their toe into the water, just like esports stuff, and it's like Splatoon didn't really catch on for esports. So same for ARMS, they had a couple of tournaments and then dropped it. Smash Invitational, however, they sort of had a base to go on. They had Melee, they had Brawl tournaments, they had 4, and then 4 was when they started doing the Invitational.
Right.
And then Ultimate came out. They had done it before with 4, and they knew how they wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Which is why it was probably way better than anything they had done with Splatoon.
Yeah, because you had... Go ahead.
Nah, you say your thing.
I was going to say, because they had representatives from multiple games, from the Smash 4 realm and Melee, compete in the Smash Invitational, as well as people who never had any professional experience in Smash, and they hopped on in through just brackets and working their way up, because the Invitational is not just people who get invited; it's also people who work their way up through tournaments. So it was a good way to introduce the competitive scene to a lot of people who didn't know of competitive Smash. Because I still talk to a lot of people today that they hear competitive Smash and they're like, "That's a thing," they're surprised, and then they see the Invitational, it's like, okay, well, it looks like Nintendo is starting to get into this thing, and then as soon as we think that, they go the other way.
It's very frustrating. Nintendo will take a step in the right direction. Everyone's just like, yes. Nintendo, where are you going? Stop that.
No. No. Why?
But essentially where I was going with that was Pokemon has a very well-established esports scene. Mm-hmm. Where I think it's like VGC or something.
Yeah.
Or am I? Is that correct? That might be completely wrong. I might be completely mixing that up with the like VGC boot camp for like Melee and stuff.
Shameless plug.
I know it exists and there's a well-established thing, because I went to high school and I had a vid tech class with the guy who was like number 8 in Texas for Pokemon stuff at that point.
Yeah.
And he told me all about it, and that was super interesting to me. I remembered like Nugget Bridge was a website that he got me to get on and start doing stuff. But it's very, very well established, and if Nintendo would just look into like how they do their organized tournaments, or just pull a couple of people and just, hey, we would like to talk to you. What is your input on like what we currently have and all that stuff? Or at least do a little bit of research.
Yeah.
And then implement that into an online service. Mm-hmm. I think that would be really cool.
I believe there is Pokemon Showdown, but that's not an official Nintendo licensed game. But there has been tournaments of people playing Pokemon for as long as I can remember. Now that I think about it, it's just that the nature of the game is RNG based, so there would have to be a way to normalize it one way or another.
There's a speaking of tournament play, I just remembered this. It was a clip from I can't remember which generation of Pokemon, but it's like the format is 2v2, which I think is actually the standard format. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, but I believe that is the standard format, is 2v2. But essentially, what's on the field is like, I don't remember the exact 3 other Pokemon. I remember Pachirisu, or however you say it.
Pachirisu?
The blue squirrel thing.
The Pikachu knockoff from Gen 4.
Pretty much. It's like 3 big ass dragons, and then that, and like the opposing side hits the player with the how do you pronounce it? Pachirisu. I'll learn it within the course of 5 minutes, I promise.
I hope
Pachirisu. Anyways, the side with a Pachirisu gets hit with like a double meteor or something. Mm-hmm. And the Pachirisu like survives it. Mm-hmm. And there's just like everyone gets super hyped about that, because I think that moment is what like sealed the deal on that match. The Pachirisu player won that match, and I just remember there's like a comic about it where there's the big the 3 big fuck all dragons, and then there's like a giant ass meteor, and the Pachirisu just stops it with a finger while like eating something, and everyone's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, there's items that they introduced a few generations ago where it reduces the damage that you take from super effective moves.
I don't think he was holding that. I think he was holding like a regen item. Like he lived with one, and then I think he ate it or something. I'm not sure. We'll find out.
Anyway, the point is that jank stuff can happen in competitive Pokemon.
Mm-hmm. And it was just, I was reminded of it because we were talking about competitive Pokemon in reference to Nintendo should get its shit together and start a competitive Pokemon League online with this this iteration of Pokemon.
And I mean, then you have the argument of, okay, well, you say you do establish the competitive seed. How many Pokemon are there now? After this generation, there'll probably be like 1,000.
A lot. It all depends, because that's probably how it's going to work. Is I highly doubt, or maybe because it's on the Switch and it could probably handle it, but like the last couple of generations haven't had all the Pokemon in the game.
That's true.
So it could be either, okay, we could have like the established ban lists and stuff where it's like you have the tiers, like I think it's like Uber tier, overused, hardly used, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And that's in reference to like, okay, all the Pokemon are in play, you can choose from all of them to have your team.
Oh, yeah.
Or it could be a case of like, okay, this is an online platform and it's on this generation, so you have to choose from the Pokemon that exists in this game.
Oh, okay. I could see how that would reduce the number.
It highly depends on how they do it. It could be a case of, okay, this is the latest gen, and it's on the Switch, which we were able to fit in all the Pokemon that ever exist, so you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Or it could be a case like the last couple of games where, okay, not all the Pokemon are like canonically on this region, so you have to choose from the Pokemon that exists in this region.
Yeah, and that would be a great way to reduce the numbers from the ridiculous amount of Pokemon that's already, in the lore. So, I actually kind of like that idea now that I think about it. I kind of like it, and there would still be enough diversity to where the meta isn't just ruled by one or two Pokemon, or a few teams really. And
I mean, I don't know if that's the case now for competitive stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I know
it could be. It could be.
I looked into it a little bit when like X and Y came out, because I think that's the last main game that I played. Mm-hmm. And like with Mega Evolutions came some broke and stuff. Like I think right away, Mega Kangaskhan and like Mega Gengar, those got banned real quick.
Yeah,
and
like
stuff.
Mega Kangaskhan, if I remember correctly, had the ability to attack twice in one turn.
Yeah, that sounds pretty disgusting.
Yeah, it was in a turn-based game, being able to attack more than once is absolutely filthy. Ask any Shadowverse player, they'll know.
Ask any D&D player.
D&D.
Man, there was a high-level campaign. I think we got, it was like, all right, make a character. You start out at level 20 or something like that, because it's supposed to be a one-shot. I built like a monk fighter, and I broke it. I was doing like 16 attacks per turn. It was gross.
But there will never be a Pokemon attacking 16 times per turn. But
why can't Machamp do it? He's got 4 arms.
Huh. You know what?
Why isn't he allowed to?
There's an item in Pokemon that the moves that range from attacking once to attacking 5 times, there's an item that always gives you the guaranteed 5 times.
Gross.
So, say you have the guaranteed 5 times with Machamp's 4 arms, you can get some pretty disgusting damage if that was ever relevant.
Literally go up against a non-effective matchup and literally one-shot them regardless, because you're doing so much damage.
If only Pokemon worked out that way.
Okay.
The more arms, the more viable you are. But yeah.
All right. So final thoughts on the new generation. For me, I'm waiting for more information. I am currently not excited about it, but I'm willing to wait and see what comes up for like as of like new innovations that they would probably do.
Well, that sounds like a boring political answer.
I'm sorry. It is how I feel. I'm open, because I don't think it's fair to just absolutely shit on a game until it's like fully released and you know everything about the game.
Well,
Because then there could be that one little thing that's like, I like that about the game. I would probably play that game for that.
all right. Well, I was going to say from what I've seen so far, I feel like there's more good than there is bad. There's of course, you mentioned the possibility of online matchmaking through that arena system that you're talking about. And with the introduction of new Pokemon, there can be new typings, new combinations. What I saw so far is that there is a lot of possibilities because there's this new region and then there's this new format. And I'm pretty sure nobody's going to really care about the story, but if the story is at least decent, that's definitely going to be a plus. So while we don't know that much right now, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. Aside from the water types starter, I was very unimpressed. Pretty sure there's a lot of you that agree with me.
Budget Greninja.
Budget Greninja. Greninja has been nerfed. It turned into whatever that thing is. It's so forgettable. I already forgot the name. Is it Sobble? Was it?
Yeah, Sobble or something like Sooble.
Anyway, we will have to wait and see, but I like what I see so far.
Yep.
So,
just first impressions.
First impression, I think it's good.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, we can move on to the next thing. Let me pop my next can of gamer juice.
Shameless plug.
Hold on. You got ASMR. Hold on.
ASMR.
Gamer ASMR. If I can get the can.
Hold it.
I don't want to do that. I do not want to sip real. Oh. No, I don't think it's gonna pick it up. I thought you were telling me to take a sip in front of the mic, and I just.
We gotta hit them with the content that our viewers want. If that's what they want to hear, you better hold that can up to the mic and just start sipping.
All right, put it in the comments. Do you want me to sip Monster in front of the microphone next episode? Visible concern.
Quality content. Oof. Okay, so moving on from Pokemon to our next topic. Just last night, we had the announcement of the EVO 2019 lineup. For those of you that don't know, EVO is basically the fighting game championships of the world that's been held for many years now. And it's basically where the top fighting games are represented at the highest level and gain the most exposure that most of them probably will throughout the whole year. So it's kind of a big deal, I would say. And for the lineup, there's 9 games, which was more than last year.
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to see if I can remember them all off the top of my head without having to look at it. So let's see. We start off with the easy ones that just not that hard to remember. So it's like Tekken 7, the latest iteration of Street Fighter,
Right.
Samurai Showdown. Yes. I keep wanting to call it Bushido Blade because of my close group of friends. We hype up Bushido Blade every time.
Yeah, Samurai Showdown, which was kind of a surprise for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Samurai Showdown. Mortal Kombat 11.
That's correct.
I remember the 11. I wanted to say it was like Killing Instinct because it was 11. It looked like 2 L's, and I was just like, I don't think Killer Instinct made it though.
No, it didn't make it this year.
Cross Tag?
Yes, BlazBlue Cross Tag did make it, and it is a final day grand final. So.
That one game, Under Night, I think.
That's right. Under Night In Birth made it in, which was kind of a surprise, but to be fair, it is a great game. I highly recommend that y'all play it. 3
more, and I feel like one of them is gonna be like a really obvious one that I'm dumb that.
Oh yeah, that's definitely correct.
Okay, so I got Street Fighter and Tekken.
Yeah, you got Street Fighter, Tekken.
Damn. Let's see.
You also mentioned the newcomers, Under Night and Samurai Showdown.
Yeah, those were the 2 that I wanted to get. Oh, Fighter Z. Fighter Z is one of
Yeah,
them.
Fighter Z as well.
Which is surprising considering the news that we were hearing about last year or towards the beginning of this year, where it was like Fighter Z is not really going to get much support in tournament.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, okay, it wasn't at Japan EVO.
Yeah, it wasn't at Japan EVO.
And that was the big shocker. It was like, oh, why did they drop it from Japan EVO? And it's like, oh, lack of support for tournament. But then it's here at EVO, which is understandable because like it's a good game.
It is a good game. It was because Harada-san was came back and picked up the game as he was part of the team. He's not the head developer as he is with Tekken, but he came up and he helped support the development of the game. So yeah, and there's still another one that you're missing. It's painfully obvious.
Oh, Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur is one of them.
Yes, that's another one, but you're still missing one.
I'm still missing the completely...
That's 8 of them so far.
I don't want to say Injustice, though. I feel like Injustice didn't make it.
No, Injustice did not make it.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm fucking stupid. Smash Brothers Ultimate.
Ding, 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 ding. There we go. You saved the hottest game of the year for last.
I got them all, though.
You got them all, though.
Wow, I'm dumb as fuck.
But yes, those are the 9 games that are going to be at EVO 2019.
Though. I'm proud of myself.
Yes, congratulations, Cameron. Congratulations. So, for those of you that managed to catch all of them, there may be a couple surprises in there. One, Samurai Showdown, being a remake of an older game. It's kind of like a 2D fighter. Was originally made by SNK. That came as a shocker to me because at this point I had only heard of the original. I had not heard of the remake at all. So that one was a big surprise for me. And then Under Night, was a little bit of a surprise for me as well because I have played it and it is a good fighting game. It's just that I didn't think that it would have enough support to get into EVO, personally. But maybe the international community came in and picked it up, but
I don't know. I was in a Discord and a lot of people were like, "Oh, that game made it in." Actually hype. Actually excited.
Yeah, and they are all good games, but there is a few notable absences in this lineup.
I can't believe Injustice didn't make it in.
Yeah, Injustice 2 didn't make it in. But to be fair, Sonic Fox is just gonna destroy everybody and just camp out in the corner.
I can't believe Tekken Tag Team didn't make it in.
Now you're just memeing, but one of the
Melty Blood.
God dang it! For real though, Guilty Gear didn't make it in after being in EVO first.
That is true.
For a few years now,
Guilty Gear being absent is kind of a letdown.
It is a big shocker because it's been established for so long as a well-recognized anime fighter that's been consistently represented in EVO. But if I can pull up, I do know one reason why two reasons why it may not be on here. One reason, it's because that there's a new Guilty Gear slated to come out or slated to be announced at the end of the year. So if there's going to be a new one, they'll kind of surprise people in case they haven't heard. Let's see. And the other one is because that the turnout for Guilty Gear wasn't anywhere near as high as the other games at EVO last year. If I remember correctly, EVO 2018 only had about 300 entrants for Guilty Gear, or even less, maybe, which is a big difference because last year you had games over 2,000 entrants. 4 games had at least 1,000 entrants. I could pretty much name them off at the top of my head. So I can see why Guilty Gear was dropped. in favor of the newer anime fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You're just basically replacing one with another. But I'm curious to see what's going to happen with the new Guilty Gear that is expected to be announced at the end of this year. And then there's an even bigger game that's missing. Super Smash Bros. Melee has been dropped from EVO. Everybody press F in the chat. Wait, no. This is YouTube. There is no chat.
You can't live. You can't make people do it live.
I can't make people do it live. Press F. Wait, no. Fuck. But Melee has been dropped from EVO after being in the Fighting Game Championship series for 6 consecutive years, which first off is much better than...
I don't think it was consecutive.
No?
There was 1 year they dropped it in favor of 4.
Was it? Oh, I think so. Was that must have been...
There was an extreme backlash for it.
That was 2015, I believe.
It still doesn't take away from the fact that Melee has been a part of the EVO lineup for quite a long time now, regardless of it being consecutive or not.
Yeah, because, I mean, it made an appearance in 2007, 2013, 2014. I think they skipped 15. Then 16, 17, and 18, Melee was represented. But Melee is no longer being represented despite being the... last year, I believe it was the second most entrants between all the fighting games that were there. And
I feel like Fighter Z probably had, maybe, considering how new it was around the time.
Oh yeah, I remember Melee and Fighter Z being extremely close in attendance, but from a business standpoint, Melee was just not working out for them as well as they would probably hope. Because despite the high number of entrants, there's a few things that actually skew those numbers quite a bit.
So, probably the return on Melee wasn't enough to offset some of the things that they were having to do to make sure Melee was a main event or a main lineup game at the event. Regardless, because they had good entrance numbers and they had... as far as I remember, very good viewership numbers as well on Twitch for grand finals and final day and all of that.
Yeah.
Also, in comparison to 4 last year, considering grand finals, the Bayonetta mirror matchup.
Yeah. There was a Bayonetta Ditto.
We don't talk about.
Yeah. Well, we'll just say that for grand finals, you expect it to be hype. Expectations were not met. When that's pretty much all we'll say about that.
It was anything but hype.
It was anything but hype. But as for Melee, it got very, very close to reaching 200,000 viewers. By my count, I took a screenshot at 195,000 viewers for at that point a 17-year-old party game.
Yeah, there we go. We gotta get that joke in there.
we gotta throw it in there at least once.
But all things aside, considering how successful Melee was at EVO, there were just a bunch of business practices that it's completely understandable as to why they would consider dropping and even did drop Melee. Mm-hmm. One of the big things was... if you look at it and look at the lineup that we just said for this year, if you look at all of them, all of those setups, pretty much all they need are either HD TVs or HD monitors and stuff. I'm pretty sure all of them run on current gen console, and then you can acquire the games no problem.
Yeah, and then as for Melee, it's getting the materials needed to run a tournament ready setup for Melee is getting increasingly difficult. For example, in order to play Melee on a proper tournament setting, you have to use a CRT television, those large, bulky dinosaur TVs, because of the certain amount of input lag that's been since the very beginning of the game, or release of the game. So older hardware, older technology. They also use GameCubes / Wii's, and not everybody has those and then some people I know have like 20, which are strange.
It's literally just a case of like these set of games. You can find their setups relatively easy because they are still around. Melee, on the other hand, its setup platform is just, here's a TV that you have to use. This TV is no longer in production. Good luck. Here's the platform you play it on. Either you can put it into a Wii or you can put it into a GameCube. Both of them, or at least the GameCube, I'm pretty sure, no longer in production.
Both are no longer in production.
Yeah, both are no longer in production. Good luck on finding those. The game, Melee itself, 17 or so years old, no longer in production.
Yep.
Copies regularly sell at $60 to $70.
If you're lucky to find it at that cheap.
Yeah.
And also there are specific versions of the disc that you have to have as well.
Mm-hmm. Heard from my brother, GameStop sells Melee at $40.
Really? That's incredible.
I heard. I haven't checked it yet, but I heard they sell for $40.
You heard it here, folks, from a source that we can hope that we trust is $40. So if you want to get an official tournament copy,
I would hope I can trust my brother.
But anyway, there are even different versions of the Melee disc that you can get. There's version 1.0, 1.1, or 1.01, 1.02. And then there's even more. There's the NTSC, which is the American, which is the standard tournament used disc for EVO. Then you have PAL, which is the European one. And all these factors come into play whenever you're trying to run a tournament.
And then another thing that I was actually thinking about while describing the setup and basically how different it is from the other ones is consider the AV cables and basically the input and all that. Mm-hmm. How much of a hoop do they have to jump through when it comes to streaming that setup? Because I would assume that it's extremely different from just like, oh, we can put in this HDMI splitter or something for the high definition thing and then just run it to a computer or whatever stream setup they use. And then, okay, now we are working with AV cables for a Wii or a GameCube. This kind of sucks. We probably have to go buy a special product or converter to even consider streaming in the first place.
Yeah, so in other words, it's really hard for people to have a tournament ready setup for Melee. So everybody that is coming in from everywhere to go to Las Vegas where EVO is held is bringing their CRT televisions, their Wiis, their old equipment and their old Melee discs that have to be a specific version. And all these factors make it more and more difficult to have a proper setup of Melee.
So just in the spirit of probably just like, okay, we would like to make this event way more easier to run than we already have to run it. Mm-hmm. So let's just cut out the game that requires the weirdest and oldest setup in most just convoluted way and just cut it out. And it would probably run much smoother.
Yeah. And I think the biggest issue by far is that whenever you look at other fighting games, you realize that you have players like Daigo, Goichi. You can go on and on with the different fighting game professionals that they've played more than one fighting game, right? And whenever they enter these large mega tournaments, these super majors as most people call them, they normally enter more than one game. And whenever you look at the Melee entrants, pretty much almost all of them only play Melee. Even if it's just singles or doubles, it doesn't matter. It's just some sort of Melee, and that's it. There are a few exceptions, like recently this year with Ultimate coming out. There might be some that would play Melee and Ultimate. But for the most part, most Melee players only play Melee. So you look at it from a business standpoint, that you have a whole group of players that are not willing to play other games and then spend their money to enter these tournaments. And why would you have these players that are only going to play one game whenever you can have you can replace Melee with two games? In this case, it's Samurai Showdown and Under Night in Birth. And have the same amount of people, but that are also willing to play more than one game, and boost revenue. Because at the end of the day, EVO is still a business. As much as they love fighting games, it's still a business regardless. So from a business standpoint, Melee was not the most effective way of making a profit. So
it's just you had Melee and just none of that. It's a completely different quote unquote fighter game from the rest of the things in the lineup. Even if you did spend hours and hours and hours playing Melee, that skill just does not transfer.
Yeah.
Because as like Leo was saying, you can play hours and hours and hours of Street Fighter, and then you can kind of have that skill at least transfer. I don't want to say minimally or like a small amount, but like a decent amount of that skill can transfer to the other games. You just have to learn some of the mechanics of the other games to probably catch up.
Yeah.
Another thing that I was gonna say was probably a factor in their decision to cut it this year it's probably the reception of Ultimate.
Yeah.
So in comparison to the year that they cut Melee in favor of 4, I feel like they probably got a lot of backlash from that because a lot of the Melee community they did not like 4. They didn't like how slow it was. Again, sort of like the Brawl Melee fiasco and all that stuff.
Way back in the day.
But it was just like they didn't like how floaty and how slow 4 was compared to Melee and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was just like you didn't have that just...
There was a clear divide between the community.
It was a clear divide.
Now with Ultimate, it's like...
Ultimate is a different story because to me it seems like Melee players are completely fine with Ultimate. Ultimate is in a good place.
Yeah, and it's been... I want to say it's been pretty much 2 months because it came out December 7th, right? So it's almost been 3 months, or has it been 3 months? It's been like 3 months since the game came out, and you still have pretty much most of the top players still streaming that game. For example, Mewtwo King, who's consistently a top 5, top 10 player in Melee's, pretty much only been streaming Ultimate. Plup, also a top 5 player, only been streaming Ultimate. Leffen, complete sellout, only been streaming Ultimate.
Call him a sellout. He's just doing what he wants. Honestly, no one kind of wants to play Melee right now.
Yeah, even Mango, the goat, the kid, the buster, as some people call him, he's basically the embodiment of Melee, and he's just been streaming a whole bunch of Ultimate too. So the reception of pretty much most of Melee in general, that they like Ultimate. So if Ultimate people like Ultimate and Melee people like Ultimate, then EVO is like, okay, well, we don't need Melee because everybody likes Ultimate anyway.
You know what I think a factor in that is? The differences between 4 and Ultimate, which allows Melee players to kind of like Ultimate, is I'm pretty sure people did not like 4 for the reason that like your top picks for characters are gonna be like Bayonetta, Cloud, and then possibly like Zero Suit Samus.
Yeah, Zero Suit.
Like Bayonetta was like the pick to go to.
Yeah, and
then Ultimate came along, and I don't see that happening right now.
Yeah,
Ultimate is in a great place to where the top tier characters are. There's an actual good number of them because, like, off the top of my head, people were saying Wolf is a top tier now, which is really weird because people were saying how he's low tier. We're in that golden age of like discovery where people are just like, oh, this character's busted. They sit at the top for a little bit, but then someone else comes along and, oh, this character's busted. It's also, we're in this golden age of discovery because Nintendo is actively patching the game, and we're getting more semi-actual patch notes for it too.
Yeah, and we say semi-actual because the patch notes were not very descriptive by any means. But back to the point, that since Nintendo's becoming more and more involved, that there is there are balance issues that are being resolved to a certain extent. If I remember correctly, there are top players that are saying that there's arguably over 15 characters that can possibly win at the highest level.
And that's what I was gonna say. Is there's just more. It seems like there's more variety in Ultimate than there is in the 3 or 4 other games. Granted, 64 is kind of weird to include because they had like 12 characters.
Yeah, I mean that one's a little bit of a weird one to use, but you have Pichu, which is very broken. There are loops that Pichu can do. Peach, Daisy, Inkling, Wolf, Lucina, Ike, Marth, Palutena, Chrom, Roy.
I'm still gonna call him Chrome. I don't give a fuck.
Anyway, that's 11 characters that I've pretty much just said off at the top of my head. Pikachu, Yoshi. I forgot about Pikachu.
I wonder what those percentages would be.
So like, we're making this argument that like, I guess because there's a lot more characters involved, it seems like it's more variety. But if you go and look at it and cross some numbers, in comparison to like, well, we can't really do Brawl because it's just like, oh, here's Meta Knight. Pick Meta Knight, win.
Yeah, that's why Meta Knight
and then 64 would be weird. But if you went and looked at the tier list for like Smash 4 and Melee, and you took like the characters that people consider viable for winning majors and stuff, or top tier tournaments and stuff, and then crunch the numbers on like what percentage of the characters those are, and then compare them to Ultimate, how close would those percentages be? We don't have to do that now. I can do that later, but I was just thinking, what would those percentages be?
Yeah, because
it could be a case of just like, oh, there's way more characters in Ultimate than Melee. Ultimate has all the characters, plus some DLC characters still coming out. What percentage of those characters are considered tournament viable, able to win tournaments, and then in comparison to what characters can win tournaments in Melee?
Yeah, because in Melee, it boils down to maybe about 5-6 characters at max that can possibly win at the highest.
I want to say it was 8 or 10.
8 to 10?
Or 8, I want to say. Because it was like Fox, Falco, Pikachu, Marth, Peach, Sheik,
Puff.
Kirby, Puff.
Did you say Kirby?
I did say Kirby. I was thinking Puff, my bad.
Yeah, so you have Fox, Falco, Marth, Sheik, Puff, Peach.
I think Falcon was in the...
Falcon was in discussion, but Falcon hasn't won a super major since the earliest days of the meta. But I digress. I mean, Wario has risen to the top with players like Tweak and Mango putting up decent results. Or Mango puts up decent results. Tweak just wins everything now. Tweak is good. Young Link, I completely forgot about Young Link. Young Link is also a very, very good character as well. Just, there's a lot of characters that have the potential to win at the highest level. Pokemon Trainer as well, so.
Yeah, I can probably crunch those numbers later, put it in the video. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But anyways, another reason, because we just got into the discussion of like why Melee players probably like Ultimate way more than 4, and it's probably just because of viability at this point, and we're in the golden age of just, or not golden age, we're in like a renaissance or something.
Yeah, like a rediscovery of tech, being competitive, having some kind of like fluid movement system. I feel like it's really good with the implementation of things like dash dancing and like better aerial speed and ground speed. The game feels a lot more fluid. It feels a lot more entertaining, interactive in a way. Whereas in Smash 4, it feels like you just kind of get a couple hits and then you back away.
It's really campy.
Yeah, it's very campy, and it makes it unappealing to watch. And that's why Smash 4 last year at EVO didn't have as much views as Melee did, even though it was a game that was, I believe it was like 13 years its junior, so.
But another thing that I can see, back to like our original big over umbrella topic that we were talking, a reason I can see being like why Melee got dropped is Nintendo as a whole.
Yeah.
Nintendo very well could have approached them and be like, hey, we would like to, one, sponsor and hand you a good amount of money.
Like that's going to happen.
I mean, who said as it didn't? Because it could be a case of just like, we would like for you guys, because why wouldn't they do this? Why wouldn't they go, hey, we would like for you guys to push Ultimate as much as possible.
Right.
It's the newest game. We would like to push Ultimate. This is the first EVO since it's been released.
Mm-hmm.
Push this game and then help us move units. Like, we want you guys to push this game as much as possible over Melee so that way we can sell games and sell Switches.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a good business thing to where it's like, okay, we would much rather have Smash Ultimate be the only Smash game here.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, as grassroots and established that the Melee community is, it wouldn't be the end of the world since if it's not there, and it's perfectly fine.
It really wouldn't. It's just, it's at this point, it's really sort of a pride thing.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed this big divide in the community, not the Melee community, but just fighting games in general, to where it's like people really, really didn't like Melee.
Yeah, for the longest time. And
there's just tons of people that were just absolutely excited that Melee got dropped finally.
Yeah.
And I think that
It's
kind of sucks. I really don't think I could really just like actually hate on someone's game that hard.
Yeah, I can't do that either. I mean, it's just that whenever you find a particular game or a particular genre that you feel like that you really appreciate more than you probably appreciate most things, it's hard, because whenever you realize that that's no longer there, and then other people are happy that your thing that you care about is no longer there, it's kind of a punch in the gut, actually. Because as soon as I heard about it, I went on Facebook to see what people were saying, and the first thing I see from a Facebook page, and it was the Crab song. It was like, "Oh, Melee is gone.
Melee is gone."
Dun, 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 dun. That one. And I saw that. I'm like, man, it's funny. It's funny.
Kind of funny. Yeah.
It's funny, but it also hurts. It also hurts. But yeah, I have never seen a community just dumpster on another community for not being there. You know.
But once then again, it is the fighting game community. They've just aside from like
the few
Call of Duty fandom and stuff. When it comes to esports, they're up there with just like the group of people who are in your face about everything and just shit talking, just saltiness all over the place.
And
so it's kind of understandable, but at the same time, it's like, it makes me feel kind of bad.
Yeah, I mean, then it boils down to the nature of fighting games themselves, because fighting games are by no means meant to be a casual game that people can actively get into it. The fighting games are a type of game that is, if you play it and you're not just playing a game, it's like playing chess against somebody else. It's like you put in the amount of time that you would learning moves in chess as you would putting combos, onto your opponent, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not for the faint of heart, and that's probably why it doesn't have that friendly, inviting atmosphere, because most of these people are just grinding, because they care about this particular type of game. But it's also what makes it kind of closed off to most other genres, that people see it as, this is too intimidating, I'm not going to even attempt this.
It's a very, very high energy environment.
Yeah, but that's why the tournaments are so amazing, because it's just hype everywhere, shoutcasting left and right, ridiculous mind games, as well as incredible execution tests. I'm geeking out. I'm geeking out. But yeah, in general, it's hard to get into this type of game.
I think like my inability to just truly shit on like a game or like a group of people who enjoy a game, it's probably from just like my experience in esports, to where it's like esports is like a growing industry.
Yeah.
We're still quote unquote in the baby early stages and stuff.
Yeah.
To where we need everything that we can get.
Yeah, we need to be as inclusive as we can. We need to bring everything that we can.
So it's like, it feels kind of bad because like Melee got dropped and then people shit on it. It's like, it feels kind of bad because it's like, oh wow, this branch of esports just got dropped and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for them and stuff.
Yeah, and what I noticed is that we saw Injustice get dropped. Nobody cared about Injustice, right?
Felt kind of bad when Injustice got dropped.
Yeah, and then you had Guilty Gear drop, which was a bit of a surprise because it had 650 or so entrants at last year's EVO, which was pretty good actually, but it still dropped, which was kind of
Guilty Gear is going to be one of those things where it's probably like a late realization on it, where it's like, oh wow, that kind of sucked. It got dropped because of the thing you said earlier, where okay, they have a new game in the works that's going to get announced at the end of the year, and then also isn't Guilty Gear's Arc Sys, right?
Yeah, it's Arc Sys.
So they have Dragon Ball FighterZ to focus on right now too?
That's fair, because with the new patches and DLC and whatnot.
Yeah, so they could be focusing on that for now, and they're just like, all right, Guilty Gear, it's been around for a bit. We have a new one in the works. Let's just go ahead and drop it so we can get people to focus on Dragon Ball Fighter.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess that worked the same way with Injustice, because I believe Injustice was NetherRealm, and so is Mortal Kombat, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
So
because I remember, I remember getting into an argument with someone over that where they were just like, I think we were talking about Sonic Fox, and they were just like, oh, Sonic Fox is trash. All he plays is NetherRealm games. He plays Mortal Kombat and like Injustice, and that's why he can do so well. And I was just like, it's just a game.
It's just a game, dude. Let the guy have fun. For those of you that don't know, Sonic Fox is just one of the greatest fighting game players that I have ever seen in my life. He's just good.
He's very consistent.
Very consistent, and no matter what game he plays, he's just consistent. But like, even within the FGC, the fighting game community, you have split between your 2D fighters, your anime fighters, your 3D fighters, and Smash. Right? You have all these different subdivisions also bickering with each other, deciding who's the best.
I mean, that's yeah, they do have that. I mean, I sort of have that thing where like, when a fighter gets announced, like I think the My Hero Academia fighter got announced, and also Jump Force got announced, and I'm pretty sure they're both arena fighters.
Yeah.
And I do not enjoy arena fighters. However, I will not go out of my way to just, arena fighters are just the absolute fucking worst. You should not exist as a game, whatever. I don't do that. But it's just not my thing, though. Yeah,
like, for example, like, some people may not like Animal Crossing, and then even though that is Cameron's favorite game, he will not dumpster on those people.
You are entitled to your wrong opinion.
Okay. Okay. So yeah.
I mean, yeah. Just if you don't like Animal Crossing, that's your thing. It's not your thing, then all right. That's all I can say on that.
Yeah, that's all we can say on that. So what do you?
That's all censorship will allow me to say.
So yeah, that pretty much wraps it up for EVO. Do you think we're missing anything? Do you think we should talk about like Samurai Showdown anymore, or? Under Night?
I don't
No.
think so. I will probably tune in to watch a little bit of those a piece. And I know I want to watch Tekken 7.
Yeah.
I'm slowly getting into Tekken 7.
Mm-hmm.
I want to play King. I want to play King a lot. King seems like a really fun character to play.
And because he is a grappler type of character, which involves a lot of 50-50s and fun mix-ups, lots of mix-ups. So as of now, it seems like Tekken 7 has kind of become like the darling of the FGC, really, because like you have Street Fighter 5, which has had at best
it's had its run.
It's had its mixed reviews as well. Dragon Ball FighterZ recently picked up, so Dragon Ball FighterZ is doing fine. But Tekken 7 has only gotten more popular as its release from 2015. So it's been around for a few years. Maybe the winners' payouts may have not changed all that much.
Do you think part of Dragon Ball Fighter Z? Do you think part of its success was it released in a time that Marvel vs. Capcom tried to release a new game, and it did not do well?
Yeah.
In comparison to like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, I think was the last one people really wanted to play.
Yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 received a lot of success, and then whenever Infinite came out, it was about the same time that Dragon Ball FighterZ came out. And as big as Marvel and Capcom are, the entire anime world loves Dragon Ball.
I mean, it's not even that. It's probably just the case of I think the style of play. People played Marvel vs. Capcom. Probably not for the Marvel and Capcom aspect, but for like this style of play is really fun, having the assists and just insanely long combos, just combo game. And then it's just Dragon Ball FighterZ came along and did that better. Did the same thing, if not better. And at the same time, the new Marvel vs. Capcom came out, and it did not live up to people's expectations. So people probably changed to Fighter Z at that point.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, you have the recognition of Dragon Ball. You have the Arc Systems developers on that game. So you have the name, so you have the credibility of Arc Systems, you have the name of Dragon Ball, and you have the recipe to make one of the greatest fighting games probably ever to come out, if you really think about it.
Yeah, because it's really interesting to me. I think it was just a case of, because Fighter Z could have been really bad.
It had the potential to be bad.
It could have been. Going back on my word about the shit on a genre, but they could have made Fighter Z an arena fighter like they had with all the
Xenoverse,
Budokai Tenkaichi or
Budokai Tenkaichi.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Yeah, they could have done the same thing.
Granted, from what I've seen, people get really hype about the Budokai series as well. Still, regardless,
I feel like it might be the nostalgia factor that's partially
at this point. Maybe
because at this point, I mean, you have like for Tenkaichi for number 3 at least, it was over 100 characters, right? But it's for like the rush of like, hey, look, here's Dragon Ball in kind of a semi-open world setting where you get to just combat however you like and just do all the moves that you want to do. This with Fighter Z, there is the auto combo feature. It is easier to pick up than most fighting games, so there is the more accessibility of this.
That is true. It's way more accessible to the other games.
Mm-hmm. So that's partially due to its success, and then you have a game like, let's say, one that hasn't received as much attention from whenever it came out. Let's say
Naruto Clash of Ninja.
Don't talk about that game.
It was fun. I don't know what you're talking about.
No. Okay, I thought you were about to go into a route where you're gonna diss on that. That's number 2.
No.
Clash of Ninja 2 is literally one of my favorite games growing up as a kid. Without a doubt.
I have both Clash of Ninja and Clash of Ninja 2 sitting around somewhere.
Oh man, that's great.
Pull them out and play them again.
Those were the days.
I remember going through story and having an absolute blast, and then I got to Gara, the final fight, because that's where like the American dub was at, so that's where the game got cut off pretty much in Clash of Ninja 2.
Yeah.
And I just did not have a good time. I did not have a good time with that fight.
And then I got to the point where I had gotten much better at the game that I still enjoyed being able to speed run the game.
Oh, I didn't learn anything from the game. I just button mashed. I was a kid.
Oh, I mean, I saw the combo system. It's like, well, how do I throw in a super in the middle of this combo and just completely demolish everybody?
Yeah, because I think that's all I learned was just like, I know a throw, I know how to activate my super. That's it.
Yeah, throw, super, mash, beat a combo, auto combo. But yeah, so there's that.
Bless me.
Now let's see. Should we move on to something a little bit more local for us, or do you think we should, or do you have anything else in mind? Because I feel like
we could probably cut it off there.
Yeah.
That seems like a good amount to cover within an episode.
Yeah. So that actually wasn't bad. Pretty good discussion of EVO, fighting games, and Pokemon.
It was really nice. We got to cover a lot of things involving those two today.
Mm-hmm. And that thing that we were laughing at earlier in the podcast, we'll put that in the Discord. Links into the Discord below.
I was just gonna link it. I was just gonna show a picture of it in the video when we started laughing at it.
I did. Wait, what video?
The power of editing.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
nice.
nice.
Nicer. All right. So, should we call it a show?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
Caught me mid-sip.
All right. Well, I've been Angel Leo Garcia.
I've been Cameron Bomber.
And we're signing off on the podcast that we still don't have a specific name for yet, but we'll figure it out later.
Yep.
No, let's just call it that.
We'll figure it out later.
We'll figure out later podcast.
Or how about we let people name it, or at least suggest names to us for us to just ignore, you know?
Yeah, so if you wanna drop names that we'll probably not even look at in the first place, y'all can just put that in the comment section below.
You can put it in the comment section below. You can visit our Discord where we have the specific podcast discussions channel. Please remember that channel exists. It needs some love. We also insist you use that and let us know what sort of topics that you want us to talk about in the future as well.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you don't, all I'm going to do is talk about Melee. So please bring us some topics.
If you no longer wish for Leo to talk about Melee and Melee things, please consider donating to the podcast discussion channel.
Yes. So if you want to donate to kill Melee, please donate to the channel.
If you would like to cut Melee from the podcast lineup. All right, we'll see you next time, guys.
See you next time. See you next time. See you next time. See you next time.